Hey, this is Cornelius Lindsey, and welcome to the Silent Majority. You know, with growing partisan distaste amongst many voters, there's a silent majority that's growing that doesn't find a home in either of America's two major political parties. People don't know how to identify themselves, and a large number of people are simply not voting. Of all the voters, many people are just unsatisfied with either the candidates or the system. This silent majority is growing, and we have something to say. Welcome to the Silent Majority. Hey everybody, it's your boy Cornelius Lindsey, and we are back with another episode of Silent Majority where we have something to say. And boy, man, we just got finished watching night one of the Democratic National Convention. And it was quite a show. It was quite a show. But nevertheless, I'm here with my boy Jared. If you have not heard other episodes with Jared, hey, y'all got to go listen to some of them. We have already been canceled a couple of times because of that. And I also have another of my good friends, Mr. Rob Kelly. He is joining us via phone. Rob, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Glad to be here.
Good. Hey, okay, so Rob, we kind of already know where Jared stands in this whole thing. He's not voting anyway. Did you watch the convention tonight?
I did watch the convention.
Okay, so let me ask you this question. Have you, or I don't know if you want to say this, but have you already, before you watched the convention, had you already decided on a candidate?
I was about 90% sure who I was going to vote for.
Okay.
Uncle Joe?
Wasn't Uncle Jim.
Okay. Well, there we go. Well, okay. So this is what I did. This is what I did. Tonight, I wanted to listen to, I wanted to watch night one of this convention and walk away and say, okay, well, I want to look at it with a fresh set of eyes and say, if I was not an avid lover of politics, if I did not follow the news, I followed none of the stories. If I watched that tonight, would that tell me you need to vote for Joe Biden? And I cannot say it did. I cannot say that tonight, night one, made a strong case for Joe Biden.
I think Michelle is the only person that kind of made it.
Michelle killed it. I don't care what anybody says. Michelle killed it.
Absolutely.
Michelle killed it.
Absolutely.
She kept me captivated. She kept me wanting. It was there. While I may not have agreed with everything she said, she kept me captivated. And she had me thinking.
Absolutely.
You didn't agree with everything she said?
No, I don't agree with everything anybody says, but I didn't agree with everything she said, but nevertheless, I was captivated to the point I was like, man, this is really good. Okay. So Rob, out of all the people, who would you have said, this is the person who I thought probably did the best?
I have to agree. I definitely had my favorites of, I think, who really captured, my attention. First and foremost, I think, Michelle Obama did an amazing job. She was very compassionate. Mm-hmm. She was very empathetic, and she was genuine. Mm-hmm. And I think that was a strategy of why they put her first, and why they in the first night, and why they put her last. To kind of bring it home. The two other people I would say, I think Bernie Sanders, of course, he's one of the fan favorites of the left. I think he did a really good job of really, for the first time, actually hitting policies that Joe Biden would actually implement. Mm-hmm. And I think that's kind of the first time we actually heard tonight someone go down the list of things that he would do, such as, fund universal pre-K, make childcare affordable, and, the threat of climate change. But the only one, and it's the third one I think that really hit home, was the young lady, Kristen.
No, not to go with her dad.
Caesar. Yeah, that one just because one of the things she said was, there are two Americas, the America Trump lives in and the one my father died in. Mm-hmm. And that was just such a powerful statement. And her story and those two, I think, were the overall kind of big hitters for me.
And she really placed the onus on Trump for her father's death, though.
But yeah, and I think that was the I feel like that was unfair. It was like, I understood where it was going, but I do feel like that is a part of that of this whole political system. It's a part of the whole political game that you would politicize your father's death like that. I mean, I really feel like she politicized her father's death. Now, granted, I know the DNC was going to use it for what they had to use it for in order to get the message out there. It wasn't just that what she said that was powerful. I forget the words that she used. It was about her dad's death. It was like, the only pre-existing condition my father had was that he trusted Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. And I thought when I saw that, I was like, golly. Wow.
Yeah, she really stuck the knife in with that one.
Stuck the knife in deep. And then to go for her last words of her father. Then to say, I trust this guy, I voted for this guy, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, boom. It's like, it's just kind of dropped from the sky with that. I thought that was, I don't know. I don't know how to feel about that.
But it's effective, and that's kind of what
to who though?
To the average everyday emotional voter, because that's who, let's be real, that's who most of this is for. It's just for the average non-political, not the person that's going to study policy, not the person that's going to really dive down into the facts. It's for the person that's just watching this and is going to make a decision, based on how they feel. And what I think that they do a great job of is hitting feelings. And she did that.
And I felt like okay. Let's go to the round table. Did you watch the round table that Joe Biden was doing, and he had Mayor Lightfoot on there? He had the president of the NAACP, and they were talking about things, police reform, and this would happen in my city, this would happen in my state, blah blah blah. I think it was a police chief of Houston. We need to hold his feet to the fire and do all these different things. But at some point, I wonder, is the average constituent going to ask the question, is this an issue? And I'm asking the both of you, are the issues that were brought up in that roundtable, are those issues that are responsibility of the president, or issues that should be responsibility of the governed leaders, those local officials like Mayor Lightfoot, over Chicago, like the police chief over Houston? How much can you lay at the feet of the White House, and that you pretty much just kind of go over the head of the governors, the mayors, the aldermen, the congressmen? They were even talking about legislation that I thought, if we're going to talk about legislation here, shouldn't we be talking to a different audience? The audience we'd be talking to is the House and the Senate. So I guess my question here for both of you is, how much of all of these things how much of all these issues can we honestly lay at the feet of the White House?
All of them.
Oh, Jesus.
All of them.
And how?
All of them, because it's ultimately, he's the leader of the free world. He's the leader of the country. So no matter how much you want to, say it should rest, start at the level of the local government. Mm-hmm. But yes,
but that's where it starts though. And then it's like, there. But okay. And Rob, I want to get your thing on this too, but okay. At some point there are three branches of government. You got the executive, the legislative, and the judicial. So a lot of times I don't understand if people really understand the basic, studies of just our government, how it's made up. And yes, I can lay some things down at the feet of the executive branch. I mean, heck, at least with the credit of the executive branch, it came out with an executive order to try to give some type of, stimulus to people, try to give people $400 and $100 to be approved by the governor and do all this kind of stuff. But how much of this is just going beside the legislative branch, just sidestepping Congress and just saying, we're going to put all this stuff at the feet of the White House just because it's an election year? Rob?
I would disagree. I think that many of the things that has been laid, and pointed at Trump is actually local policy and decision making. Case in point, when we look at how Mayor Lightfoot was handling the crime in Chicago. Even when the president tried to step in and give her and say, hey, well, it's obvious that the situation in Chicago is out of control. let us send in the National Guard to help you police, the crime there. And there was pushback.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you start seeing things like that, you have to start asking yourself, what is the real agenda, of the local policy. So if I'm a mayor and I see, man, my city is out of control. My police don't have the capacity, or have not demonstrated the capacity to take control of the crime in my area. And I have someone offering me help. At that point, it's become political. So I think that we cannot blame and put everything on the foot of the White House. We have to start looking at what policies are we creating that is in our local governments, our mayors, our governors. What are we doing in our local cities that are actually, causing a lot of the things that's happening? Even when we look at opportunity zones that have come, where the White House has created opportunity zones to help distressed Black communities. How many
that came from the only sitting Black Republican senator, a Republican, Tim Scott. So, and I agree. I'm sorry. Continue.
And so we have to look. How many of our local, Black cities, have taken advantage of that, have put in the infrastructure to take advantage of that. It's been very few.
Yeah.
So we have to start saying, what we, of course, I'm all for holding the president accountable when it's things that have to do with the president. Mm-hmm. Hold him accountable.
Absolutely.
But, when it's things that have to do with us on a local level, I think we have to start looking at, why is it the fact that the majority of Black-run, Democratic-run cities are the ones that's many times doing the worst with crime rates, doing the worst in poverty. We have to start asking ourselves these questions. And why do we keep re-electing the same individuals that have proven, for years and years and years not to be effective?
Yeah. Listen, I'm glad you mentioned that. And one thing I want to go back to that you just said was holding President Trump accountable to some things like, you hold him accountable to his rhetoric, which I feel like President Trump could do a better job with his rhetoric. His rhetoric is just, he does not know how to relate to the common person. He don't know how to do that.
Absolutely.
He needs to be held accountable for his rhetoric. As it relates to legislative things, but here's the thing: what president does not have issues with the legislative bodies? Heck, Bill Clinton had it. It was by a miracle that him and Newt Gingrich could balance the budget. George Bush had it. At one point, I believe George Bush he had a Republican majority, and he had a Republican majority in the House and the Senate, and still couldn't get anything through. Barack Obama had it. He had a Democratic majority in the House and the Senate, and then I think in his second term it was flipped. But either way, he still couldn't get anything done. So at some point. And here's, I know it is not the Democrats, it's not the Republicans' job to teach civics. It's not the Republicans or the Democrats' job to teach just the fundamental aspects of government. But at some point, we got to start sharing with people. Some things are the president's fault. Some things is local government. Some things is legislative. Some things we got to look at we need to go and look at our representatives there in the House. We talk to our senators to figure out why these laws are not getting passed. If we just lay it all down at the feet of the White House, something's wrong. Jared?
Yeah, but the problem is widespread. It's not just either or, right? I believe that it's both parties. Mm-hmm. I have no idea. How things get passed throughout the House, right?
Because you don't care. You don't even vote.
Listen, I have no idea what you guys are talking. I have no idea what they're talking about right now. All I hear is zap. I'm just playing. I'm looking at the lights over here. It sounds great though. But ultimately though, here's what I do know.
Okay.
I look at leadership and I'm simplifying everything in my mind.
You are the average voter they're talking to.
Absolutely.
And that's what I like about him. Yeah, absolutely.
But that's the thing with Jared. Jared is the average voter they're talking to who looks and says, I don't care about how all this stuff gets passed. Only thing I know is Donald Trump is the leader.
And something's wrong.
And something's wrong.
Something ain't working.
So you need to fix what's not working. But then here's the great thing about leadership.
I also think.
Go ahead.
I also think that when you have someone like Jed, which is many of us, and he is, I do believe, the average voter. I think that's where the media comes in,
Absolutely.
And it plays such a vital role because a lot of people in the media, they're journalists, they understand how laws are passed. But if you have a media team that's not an objective media team, they can spin a story so that the average voter thinks it's this person's fault, when it's actually not that person's fault, So I think this is where, the media plays such a big role because it kind of plays on everyone not being a political scientist. It plays on the fact that everyone doesn't know how laws are passed. So it can throw a headline out, that kind of makes people think one thing, and there's so many other factors that affect, the decisions that are being made. And so, I think that's one of the things that we're really dealing with right now is how the media is writing the story, and how it's writing the story to bend a certain way.
You're right. And that plays a lot on people's conscience, on what they think, what they believe. For the record, I'm not the average voter. First of all, I don't vote.
You don't vote.
I'm not going to vote for any of these clowns. Second of all, I see exactly what you're talking about because I've worked in the media, right? I've worked for a newspaper for many years and have seen firsthand how they can spin a story easily.
That's what they're doing.
And it's almost not their fault either. It's almost not the reporter's fault because they're taking.
Whose fault is it then?
It's the people who they're sourcing from, because
come on.
Here's the thing. I'm a prime example. Let's say an authority like the police, right? Mm-hmm. They say, let's say there's something happens. There's a crime that happens, and a reporter goes out to cover this crime, and they go to the police officer, and they get because they're the authority in charge, and they say, "What happened here?" If the police officer can tell them whatever they want. And a lot of times the police and the authorities withhold information because they know they're reporters. They know they go out and they write and they talk and many people see it. So they don't divulge the whole story.
Right.
And so the reporter go back and take that story and they'll expound on it and write whatever, expound on the statement that is given to them from the police when the police could be lying.
Well, but my thing is
the same thing with people in Congress.
But it is the integrity of the reporter to make sure that he or she does the due diligence to make sure that he or she is putting out the right information. Because then the reporter should be held accountable.
But the reporters cannot see what goes on behind closed doors.
Well, here's the thing. Well, they shouldn't. How can you
find out? How can you know what you don't know? That's exactly what it is.
But you still need to do the due diligence. There has to be a due diligence period that says from a reporter for police. If I know the police officer is not divulging all the information, then I'm going to come out with a story that just says this is all that we know.
Okay, so here's another example. Kid drowns in the bay. Reporter goes out to cover it. Mm-hmm. The cop says to the reporter, "Oh, the kid swam out 500 yards to the jetty and couldn't make it back." Mm-hmm. Right? How can you do due diligence on something like that when it's like you only taking what the police officer tells you? You can't go out there and research and estimate like, oh, okay, is this possible? Nobody's going to do that.
But
I think it is. I agree with Cornelius on this one. I think it is the reporter's job to do their due diligence and actually think beyond a one-sided narrative. We saw that with the CNN having to settle that case with that young man named Nick Sandman with the defamation lawsuit and with that Catholic high school controversy where they said that the Catholic high school was mocking that Native American gentleman, and then it came back that was actually not the case. And I think it was just like a couple of weeks ago that CNN actually settled for $1 million in the defamation suit. Yeah. Why? Because they didn't do their due diligence. They took one-sided of a story because it was popular at the time. It was hot, to have a race baiting story, and they ran with it to the detriment of this young man's, integrity, this young man's character, and they lost. He ended up suing them because it came out that what the story that was happening, that they were making fun of this gentleman, that they were teasing, wasn't the case at all, and they actually lost millions of dollars for it. So I think that even more goes to say that it's important for them to make sure that if they're going to put something out there that's potentially libelous, they need to make sure that's accurate.
So you're basically saying that this whole DNC and everything that we just saw, they're appealing to the average voter.
Absolutely.
But they're more informed.
What?
They're more informed. I'm just saying ... Are they not appealing to them, or like where do they stand?
I feel like the more informed voter can look at it and tell that some of that was just a bunch of crap.
Even the Democrat.
Even the informed Democrat can look at that and tell that was a bunch of crap. And some of that stuff was just a bunch of crap. Michelle Obama, she was convincing. Bernie Sanders, thankfully, Bernie Sanders came out and did what I know so many Democrats were hoping that they were going to do. That they were going to make this convention more about why we need Joe Biden and not just why we don't need Donald Trump, because that is a big difference. Because in the beginning of the convention, it was all about, Donald Trump bad, this is why we got to get rid of Donald Trump. We got to get rid of Donald Trump. And I know it's easy for you to say, well, we're saying get rid of Donald Trump. And if Joe Biden is the alternative, we'll go with Joe Biden. But if we're being honest here, the only one who gave definitive answers, definitive reasons why Joe Biden over Donald Trump, it was Bernie Sanders. When you go down and when you list things, and you say, okay, he's going to help you do this. He's going to do this. He's going to do this. And one thing I respect about Bernie Sanders, and one thing I respect about Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden, for allowing him to do this, was he said, although we fundamentally disagree about the way that we would do healthcare, he at least said Joe has a plan, and Joe has a plan that's going to, and but he was the one who went down the line. But what Bernie Sanders was doing, Bernie Sanders was appealing to those progressives who were still on his side, who's still on Bernie's side. And he was saying, listen, basically he told them, we didn't get everything. We won't get everything out of this. But what we are getting is 1,000 times better than what you're going to get with Donald Trump. And he did a good job. John Kasich, he would have done better not being on the program, because John Kasich was not. I remember when Zell Miller, who was he was a Democratic governor of Georgia, but his history, is questionable. But he was a Democratic governor of Georgia. Zell Miller came out and endorsed George W. Bush when it was George Bush versus John Kerry, John Kerry and John Edwards. And I remember Zell Miller took that stage that night. And I don't think there's ever been anybody who has switched parties like that and got up and gave such a compelling speech. But even in that speech, Zell Miller did not just, it wasn't just, John Kerry bad. He was going on. He was listing. I remember he gave a listing. He said, John Kerry and John Edwards, they oppose the M1 bomber that bombed down to it. He opposed. And he said, if we do go to war, we're going to hit them with spitballs. And everybody started laughing. But it was like Zell Miller touched to the heart of the person. I'll never forget watching that speech. And I've watched it 1,000 times since. So I like oratory. I'll never forget watching that speech and feeling compelled, like, man, this guy actually believes. John Kasich, he would have been better to leave off the program. That would have been better to give that time to AOC or giving it to any one of the other squad members. Because John, I don't feel like if John Kasich, if his whole role was to move moderate Republicans into that area to say, I'll be a Republican, I'll be a rhino or Republican in name only, and I'll vote for Joe Biden. I don't feel like he did that. I don't feel like he did that at all. I think,
what I think they were trying to do is, I really feel like Trump has a very passionate and loyal base. However, it can be more on the narrow side. Whereas if Biden wants to win, he has to build something that's broad and that's passionate. And so what we see is, from Bernie Sanders, he takes the far left from Bernie Sanders. With Michelle Obama, that middle section is covered. And I think, it was like, okay, well, let's get the Republicans, the ones that will somewhat move to a little bit to the right, to the left, excuse me. And so I think he's doing, I feel like they were trying to build a broad coalition of, a broad spectrum of, okay, we have the left unlocked, we have the middle of the road, moderate Democrats. Then we're going to pull them in with Michelle Obama. And, if those kind of straggling, they don't know what they're going to do, independents. And I think it was more so of a point to say, hey, not necessarily what he was saying, but hey, look, even Republicans are not voting for Trump. So why would you? Especially independents, those people that are undecided. If you see just the visual alone, I think was powerful to say, from what he said, it's the fact, hey, I'm a lifelong Republican and I'm not even voting for this man. I think that's the powerful statement that they were attempting to make. I think, of course, to your point, he could have came a little bit harder, and
he could have
come a little bit harder if he was going to be a turncoat.
John Kasich came off as somebody who got his butt whipped by a man who was loud, who was obnoxious, who was tanned, and who has never won a political office in his life. And John Kasich, in my opinion, going back to that primary, when it got down to the wire, John, I was like John Kasich over all of them. But when it came down, he appeared like a sore loser. Him, Carla Fiorina, I'm quite sure she got her name in there somewhere. She's going to probably be looking for a chance to speak to get her name back in the limelight too. Carly and the rest of them. It's like, but nevertheless, Rob, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to give you one last word to come in, man. And I'm going to wrap this thing up with you. And I really appreciate you being on the silent majority with me. But with me and Jared.
My name's Jared, everybody.
But if you could, man, Rob, one last word on the convention tonight.
I mean, I think it was interesting. I think it's enough to really push those that weren't already voting for Biden. No, I'm interested to see what the second and third night bring. I think they're going to really need to make a strong case for why, not just for against Trump, but for why Biden, especially with the controversial pick of Kamala Harris. They're really going to have to push their criminal justice reform. What are they planning to do? I know that's a big thing that people are looking to hear from them on. They're really going to have to hit that hard. And I really feel like they're going to have to hit what they plan to do significantly regarding, Black Lives Matter, how they're going to really push racial reform. I think those two things, they didn't really hit tonight, but I think it's going to be important for them to hit moving forward for him to even, make a dent of a chance to beat Trump.
I agree. Well, Rob, hopefully we can have a chance to get you back on here to get a recap of the rest of the nights. Again, man, I really appreciate you joining me. God bless you, brother, and give all the love to your family.
Thank you so much.
Okay?
Thanks for having me.
All right.
See you, Rob.
You too. Thanks.
So, Gerard, what do you think? What do you think about that convention?
A bunch of rhetoric, boring, and just...
Okay, but
everybody's reading from scripts and they're like, we just want to, we support Black Lives Matter. But it's like, for me, I think the only reason believable to me.
I think the only reason why I watch it is because, for me, this is like my Super Bowl. I absolutely love politics. I love this stuff. I live it. I breathe it. I think it's so amazing. I love to talk about it. With you, like watching it, it was just like, I imagine the average voter sitting at home. And although you are not the average voter,
I was talking to a couple average voters and they were just like boring, giving me the sleepy emojis. And I was like, yeah, same thing. Like I was talking to somebody and they said, I turned it off.
Wow.
Democrat. registered Black Lives Matter supporter, BLM, all that.
And so they turned it off.
Turned it off. And just, I said, Michelle's on. I said, oh yeah. All right. I want to see Michelle. That's it.
And I think for many people, they wanted to see Bernie. They wanted to see Michelle. Yeah. I don't, like I said, I don't feel like John Kasich really served a purpose. I don't feel like, what's her name?
Who is that?
Matt Whitmer, huh?
Who? John
Kasich. He's a former governor of Ohio.
Got it.
Yeah, he also ran for president against Donald Trump.
There's a lot of people that are thanking me right now that I asked that.
They're like, "Who the heck is John Kasich?" but I don't feel like he served a purpose. I don't feel like I think her name is Mitt Whitmore, or whatever her name is. What
about your girl Amy
Klobuchar?
Mm-hmm.
Well, listen, she came out, and I think Amy did what Amy needed to do, and that was to really show face and be one of the opponents who fought against Joe and said, yes, we were enemies before, or we fought against each other before, but now we're in this thing together. We're going to win. We need to win. Mm-hmm. I think but again, I feel like the case tonight was about Donald Trump bad.
That's going to be the case moving forward.
But that's not going to win them the election.
It's not.
That's not going to win them. But let me ask you this.
Wait.
That's not going to win the election.
I think it might.
No, it won't. That's not going to win them the election. You're not going to win an election on why, because that's not going to energize a base to go out and vote.
Already believes in him. Like, I already believe in Donald Trump anyway.
And listen, they were talking to a base tonight, and you can tell what base they was talking to. But Michelle kept saying, First Lady, she kept saying, we need to do this. When she said we, and when she said, listen, I already know some of you won't accept this. And when she did it like a black woman. She said, look, I already know y'all ain't gonna accept this. She said, she said, and I know I am a black woman speaking at the Democratic National Convention. When she said
went there.
It was as if hearts was like, like, oh, you there now. We here. She touched on it. So they're definitely talking to a certain base. But my question for you though, Jared, is this. Number one, are you going to watch another night of it?
I'm probably going to
tune into some of it.
Some of it for sure. There's no way I can sit there and watch. Like, the whole thing was so boring. I mean, they were putting up, and I tend to believe or tend to question some of the people that were even on there. Like, are these actors? Some of the people, some of them, not all of them. There was a little teenage girl that was, I didn't really question her, and she was very well spoken too. By the way,
what, the one with her dad? 15?
No. She was in the beginning. She had a kente cloth, little shawl.
I remember her.
Yeah, she was very well spoken.
Was she the first one who spoke?
No.
Okay, no. I don't remember her. I watched the whole thing. I
think it was like right after, like, one of the farmer that was speaking. And then there was a guy. I don't know if I believed him or not, but he was talking about how he switched over from being a Republican to a registered Democrat now for the first time because he couldn't get down with Donald Trump and some of the, the lies that he spews. That reporter, remember that reporter asked him that question, Donald Trump, that question.
Yeah, and he said, how can you live with all the lies you've told over the years or something like that?
Excuse me?
He said, what? What'd you say?
Who?
He said, who? He said, who? Then he said, you next. I was like,
oh, I was dying.
Oh my God. Okay. Next question for you though, Jared.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Is there anything that anybody can say that can convince you to go and vote?
Say no, but you can, because, man, this it's just, it's too much, man. I don't, it's all rhetoric. It's just people trying to win votes to just get in office. You know what I mean?
I agree.
And I agree. Who knows whatever their platforms are? Who cares what their platforms are? Because nobody does.
Well, that's the whole point. That's really the whole point of the Democratic National Convention.
If Michelle runs for president, I'll go out and vote for Michelle. Well, that's the only way that I will go out and vote. I'll vote for Michelle. I won't vote for Kamala. If Barack, you want to run for a third term, I'll vote for you. That's it.
You would. Oh gosh.
That's
Okay.
it. Ain't nobody can say. The only thing is if those two things happen, and I don't know, might be a long time before Michelle ain't ever gonna run.
I mean, she made it very clear tonight. She said,
She hates politics.
She said, I'm gonna always tell you. She speaks right from my heart. I'm always tell you how I see it, and I hate politics.
Mm-hmm.
And which is why, I mean, I'm quite sure that Joe Biden probably wanted to court her to be the vice president. If Joe Biden would have picked Michelle Obama, this thing would have been in the bag. You ain't got to do no convention. Don't worry about nothing. Joe, don't even come out. Just stay in your house, stay in the basement. We don't want to see you. Don't put up no signs. Don't do nothing.
We don't care.
Just let Michelle do what Michelle gonna do. Just let her go to Target by herself. She ain't got to do no speeches. She let her do an audio book. Let her do a podcast. Just shut up, Joe. Every time Joe ready to speak, like, Joe, shut up. We gonna let Michelle do what Michelle do. Don't worry about it. On election day, everybody will go out and vote for Michelle.
You see how captivating she was, though.
Michelle was extremely captivating. Michelle is a great orator, but also is Barack. Her and Barack are a true power couple. Politics aside,
Did you realize that?
I did.
That means a lot coming from this guy. You know
what
that?
you're talking about? I've always said that. I have listened to many of President Obama's speeches over the years. I love oratory. I listen to his speeches. I love the way he delivers
platforms, though.
I live the way he
does policy.
That is not true. That's not true. I do agree with some of his policy. Not all, but I don't agree with all of Donald Trump's policy. I don't agree with all of John Kasech's policy. I don't agree with all of, our governor's policy. I didn't agree with all of Stacey Abrams' policies. But anyway, going back to what I was saying, I believe that both of them are really, really, really great orators.
Absolutely.
They know how to capture attention. Bernie Sanders in my opinion, Bernie Sanders is an orator. But tonight, the last line, I wish I can remember, I should have wrote it down, but I didn't. He gave a really, really good ending point. Bernie Sanders not a good orator, but Bernie Sanders, he speaks from his heart.
That's what I'm saying. Like, and first, before they're good orators, they're great people. With great character, and that shines through. I feel like. Well, they're
Bernie,
very relatable. Bernie has a little bit in him, but a little bit of fire in him.
Oh, Bernie, Bernie's one of those people. I can feel it.
Mm-hmm.
I can feel it. Bernie,
you can feel
it's
the
like
burn?
it's almost like I can't feel the burn now, but it's almost like when I look at Bernie Sanders, you can tell Bernie Sanders is reading from the thing because that's what they want him to do.
Mm-hmm.
But Bernie doesn't have to read from that crap.
No,
because Bernie's like, look, I feel this. I feel this inside of me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel this, and you know what I can do? I can respect a man who can say, you may not like it, but this was not mainstream until we brought it mainstream. Now it's mainstream. So what Bernie was trying to tell, all the Burns out there, he was trying to tell him, listen, Joe can't run from this. Because Joe is gonna have to come. He gonna have to acknowledge it.
Shout out B King.
He gonna have to acknowledge it if he's gonna become president, and if he wants your vote.
Mm-hmm.
He can't run from it because now it's mainstream. Bernie Sanders, I think he did a good job. Michelle, of course, she did a good job. I think a Clyburn out of South Carolina. The ending part that he reiterated again. He said, I know Joe. He said, but the good thing is that Joe knows us, which was, again, pointing to a very, augmented, very pointed group of people. That's why they continue to use George Floyd over again. They continued. I mean, they said, Breonna Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
They said Sandra Bland. They were using the names.
They're going to continue.
They were dropping them because they were like, look, tonight is really about pointing out. One of the things that I did not like about tonight was the fact that in many of, when you think about it, the DNC, I don't feel like DNC can run from this. As Democrats, their cities are major cities where a lot of the protesters are happening. You got Portland, you have Philadelphia, Chicago, you have Minneapolis, you have Atlanta. So you have a lot of these different places. You have Democratic mayors. So at some point, at one of these nights, that needs to be addressed. It can't just be, well, these are just all just peaceful protesters. While they have peaceful protests, there's also this other narrative that has to come out that says, okay, what are we going to do about these other things?
Mm-hmm.
So,
but then there's also conjecture too that these peaceful protests that turned violent are being
perpetrated by other people, other right wingers, which I can agree with. Mm-hmm. I can agree with wholeheartedly. Mm-hmm. But at some point,
messy. Like this stuff is so messy.
It is. It's very messy. But at some point, I think the DNC needs to at least address it. You cannot throw up all these pictures like, when it first came on, had the police officer hugging the people and these kind of things. It's almost like you're trying to play both sides here. And here's the thing, Joe Biden's going to have to make the decision because he has. While it may be a small group in his party right now that are saying defund the police, is getting louder.
Yeah,
defund the police. It's happening. I believe it is trying to do it in Minneapolis. It's trying to do it in Portland. Trying to do another place. It's like they want to defund the police. Mm-hmm. That is not something that Joe Biden can get behind. I don't feel like Joe Biden will ever get behind it. But nevertheless,
Sean King keeps making some noise. Then
about defunding the police.
Yeah, he's making a lot of noise.
And that's exactly what people want to do. They want to defund the police. Some people want to defund the police. Listen, it's getting out there. It's getting loud. It's getting serious. I think at some point they're going to have to recognize it. At some point they're going to do something about it. If not, we're going to just be sitting on this thing. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. But nevertheless, night 2 is coming up. I think you know what? Forget it. I'm going to do a recap of night 2 tomorrow night. I'm just keep doing this thing because I'm very much into it right now. I'm like super charged up. It's almost midnight, and I'm like I am on fire right now.
So who are the speakers for night 2?
I don't know who the speakers are for night 2. Let me look it up. Let me see. No, I don't see
3?
Night 2 speakers for DNC. Here's the speaker lineup for the Democratic National Convention.
I just got a text message. Yeah, I can't with the DNC. It's depressing.
Oh my gosh.
Democrat.
Well, it doesn't say. How did I miss Doug Jones? Doug Jones spoke tonight? Where was I at? Night 2 speakers for DNC TV. Now I'm looking at something that says that the Latinos were upset because they didn't have representation on night 1.
Come on, AOC.
Come on, AOC. I guess they have not released night 2 speakers yet. I mean, but I'd be interested to. I'm quite sure they'll come out.
They don't have a night 2. Hopefully this is it, and they just have one day. That'll be it. We've had enough, guys. I think the RNC is going to be a lot more entertaining for some reason. I feel like it's going to be so much more entertaining.
Here it is. So night 2. Night 2, the theme of the evening is Leadership Matters. Leadership Matters. So night 2, you have former acting U.S. Attorney General Sally Yates, Minority Leader Chuck Schumer. That's a boring fest. Former Secretary of State John Kerry.
Chuck Schumer.
Chuck keeps on glasses down right there, don't Chuck? Chuck be looking over his glasses, be looking down, man. Chuck is hilarious. You got John Kerry. Okay, you have AOC. AOC.
I thought she had to be in there somewhere.
But did you hear about it? So they only gave AOC 60 seconds to speak.
Oh, that sucks.
They gave her 1 minute. Now they gave John Kasich like 4, maybe AOC, 6.
She is like 17 years old. So,
but they gave her 1 minute.
Gotta start somewhere.
Bill Clinton is tomorrow night.
Come on, Bill.
And former second lady.
Hillary in there?
Nope. So Dr. Jill Biden is tomorrow. I guess she is. So Dr. Jill Biden and Bill Clinton are the lead speakers for tomorrow night, which I will probably keep a pillow close by because it's going to be a boring fest. Wednesday, the theme of the evening is a more perfect union. You have House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. I have to watch that because Nancy gonna probably
have a lot to say.
They put Nancy and then guess who out to her? Former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton.
I knew she had to be in there somewhere.
And then they put Senator Elizabeth Warren. It's like the attack of the white women.
Well, Elizabeth Warren's not white. She's Native American.
Don't you do that. Don't you do that. Don't you do that. Don't you do that. Oh, okay. And then it is Senator Kamala Harris. And then it's former President Barack Obama. Hold up. So no. So of course they're gonna go former President Barack Obama first. Well, they're not doing this in line. Okay, good. I was about to say, there's no way they would put President Obama last.
No possible way.
Yeah, they have to put Kamala last. Then on Thursday, the theme of the evening is America's Promise. You have Senator Cory Booker, Governor Newsom. Oh, Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms.
Come on, Keisha.
Look at Keisha. Look at Keisha speaking. Come on, Atlanta on the map. Hey, all day. Mayor Pete Buttigieg, Senator Tammy Duckworth, Senator Chris Coons.
Is Stacey up on there?
The Biden family.
Where's Stacey at?
Stacey did not get a spot.
I love you, Stacey, but
don't do this. I'm not doing this with you. I'm not going to keep going around this bush with you and stay. I'm not going to do this now. I ain't going to do this. I'm telling you, I ain't going to do this.
Why is she not on there?
But I don't know. Her name should be on there. In my opinion, her name should be on there.
And he wanted her to be VP.
No, I felt like she was a better candidate for VP. Number one, she's coming from the great state of Georgia. Yes.
Kamala.
She's coming from the great. Okay, so if you want Georgia to be in play, I'm telling you, if you want a state to be in play, you give somebody one of their own. Look, I was looking at polls today, which shows that the thing about Joe Biden and Kamala,
Georgia ain't gonna turn blue though.
But here's the thing. If you get out the voters the right way, look, North Georgia, they got North Georgia. They have South. They have South. They have North Atlanta. They have South Atlanta. They would easily go blue. You have enough college, university towns,
vote, which they ain't, because they taking our mailboxes. They frauding our votes. Like
gosh,
we can't. No matter what we can do.
So now we're laying the Postal Service down at
USPS. Like they doing everything that they can to hinder our vote. I mean, it's just truth. Ask Stacey, she'll tell you. I talked to Stacey yesterday. I said, Stacey, look, tell me what really happened. Tell me what Kemp really did. And she just said, you know what it is. I ain't got to tell you, bro. So we all know what it is, man.
Oh, you've been.
Right? We can't.
You must have been smoking them funny looking mushrooms before you came here. What you smoking? Okay, nevertheless, hey, y'all, don't worry about it. I'm going to join y'all tomorrow. We're going to talk about, tomorrow we're going to talk about night 2 of the DNC, because it's going down for real, y'all. Thank y'all so much for being a part of Silent Majority. God bless y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless y'all. And don't forget, the Silent Majority, what we have something to say. God bless.